I used to guide canoe trips in the Boundary Waters, way up in northern Minnesota, deep wilderness, no cell signal, no roads, nothing but miles of lakes, rock, and pine forest that swallow sound. People love calling it peaceful, but when you're actually out there for days, it doesn't feel peaceful, it feels watched. One night, our group I was leading, 6 younger campers, set up camp on a rocky point overlooking the lake. By evening, we started hearing this deep echo rolling across the water. Not a wolf, not a moose. Not any animal I had ever heard in all my years guiding. It was a long, rising scream, impossibly loud, almost metallic at the end, the kind of sound that makes your whole chest vibrate. We all froze. Then it came again, but closer. The kids whispered, "Is that a person?" But no human has lungs like that. I told them it was probably an elk, even though I knew damn well it wasn't. Night fell. No wind. No insects. Just that strange silence that means is nearby. Around 2 a.m., I woke up to the sound of heavy footsteps, slow, deliberate, crushing brush with each step. Whatever it wasn't walking on 4 legs. You can hear the difference. The rhythm was two-footed. Then came a smell, a thick, wet, musky odor, like a mix of swamp and rotting fur. My hair stood up immediately. My tent sagged slightly as if something brushed it. And then came the scream again, except this time it was right behind our campsite. I unzipped the tent slowly, knife in hand. The moon was bright enough to see the shoreline. That's when I saw it. Across the lake, maybe 40 yards away, standing on a rocky ledge, was this massive figure taller than any person, broad shoulders, long arms, and completely still. But the eyes reflected the moon like a predator's, not a human's. I didn't move. It let out another roar deeper this time, and suddenly it wrapped both arms around a boulder and shifted its entire weight. I watched it attempt to shove the rock. A rock I knew weighed over 300 pounds because we'd climbed on it earlier that day. The boulder rolled down the ledge, splashing into the lake like a meteor. It wasn't trying to kill us, it was warning us. The creature turned, took 3 massive steps, and vanished into the trees like it weighed nothing. We packed and left at dawn. No breakfast, no talking. Later, another guide pulled me aside and simply said, "You heard it too, didn't you?" It was Labor Day weekend in northern Minnesota, one of those chilly early fall nights. The family had pitched their tent right at the tree line behind the cabin. The air felt too still. The woods, somehow, felt older than usual. Birds had stopped singing earlier than normal. Even the wind seemed to avoid the place that night. They fell asleep easily. But around 2 a.m., something woke them up. It started with soft crunches, the sound of heavy weight on dry leaves. Slow. Heavy. Definitely bipedal. Coming from the trees. At first, they assumed it was one of their relatives coming back from the outhouse. But then the steps stopped. Not near the cabin. Not near the tent. Right beside them. The side of the tent pressed inward slightly, as if someone or something was standing just inches away, watching. Then came another step, this time closer to the head of the tent. The person inside held their breath, waiting for the sound to continue away from them. But that's when they realized something chilling. It wasn't walking toward them, it wasn't walking away, it was walking in a slow circle around the tent. One full lap, then another. Crunch, pause, crunch, pause. The pacing was too steady to be an animal, too heavy to be a deer, and too slow to be a person who wasn't trying to be intimidating. It circled them for what felt like minutes, but time stretched and warped with every footstep. Suddenly silence. Nothing moved. Not the leaves, not the branches, not even the air. They strained their ears, terrified to breathe. Then the footsteps started again, but this time they weren't circling. They were walking away, into the tree line. Deeper and deeper until the sound faded completely. They didn't sleep again. In the morning, they checked the area around the tent. Fresh footprints. Deep ones. But the strangest part, the footprints didn't lead toward the campsite from the cabin. They led out of the forest, around the tent and Crete, and then back into the forest. Whatever had visited them that night, it hadn't been camping. It had been coming from the woods. And it left the same way it arrived. They were deep in the north-central Pennsylvania forests. The kind of wild, untouched land where the trees grow so thick the sunlight barely hits the ground, and where the trail disappears if you blink too long. The hiker had been going all day, planning to camp along the ridge. By late afternoon, the forest got quiet. Too quiet. No birds. No squirrels. Even the wind felt muted, like the whole place was holding its breath. They tried to shake it off, set up the tent, build a small fire, ate. As night fell, the woods turned pitch black, the kind of darkness where your flashlight beam seems too thin, like it's being swallowed. That's when the first sound came. Not a branch snap, not leaves rustling. It was something. Wrong. A single tone. A high, ringing note. Like metal being bowed underwater. It echoed between the trees, but it didn't seem to come from any direction. It was just everywhere. They froze. Then came the second sound lower, almost like a growl, but stretched too long, too smooth. No rise, no fall, just one continuous sound, like an animal call played backward. Their brain tried to categorize it. Bear, owl, coyote, but nothing fit. every instinct screamed that whatever was making these noises wasn't something they'd ever learned about. Then both sounds started alternating. High tone, low hum, high tone, low hum. Perfect timing, perfect spacing, like someone or something was communicating or responding. They grabbed their flashlight and swept the trees. Absolutely nothing, no eyeshine, no movement, not even insects returning. Then came the worst part. The high tone suddenly shifted behind them. The low hum answered in front of them at the exact same time. Two sources, two invisible things, impossible to locate. They backed slowly to their tent, heart pounding, trying not to run. And as soon as they zipped the tent shut, the forest went silent again. No tone, no hum, just that awful stillness. At dawn, they packed up and left without breakfast. On the trail back, they ran into an old local hunter who'd been walking the opposite direction. The hiker mentioned the strange sounds they'd heard. The old man's face changed completely. He paused, looked back into the woods, then said, "Yeah, things out there make noises that don't belong to anything I've ever seen." He didn't elaborate. He didn't smile. He didn't even say goodbye. He just kept walking into the trees, and the hiker knew they would never camp in the forest again.